Oh, not coaching for sure. Because the one thing about this job is that I'm so lucky to go to the gym every day and coach basketball, and be with the other coaches and the players, and I love, even in a season like this where we'll enjoy going to the gym every day and having the interaction with the players and everybody. And so this is just this is rough because I miss all those relationships and being able to see all my friends and the guys on the staff and the players. I miss that every day.
Let's go to another audience question. This is from Beagle Boy, Randy in Portland. How has seeing young players like Eric Paschall and Kyrie Bowman and some of the other guys who you just brought in here, how seeing them develop as players energize you as a coach?
Well, I think that's probably been the most fun part of this season, is just watching those guys that you mentioned, Kai and Eric and Jordan Poole and Marquise Chris, Damian Lee, a lot of young players who haven't really had a chance to play much in the past, or their rookie seasons going on this year, so first time in the NBA. And to watch them progress and grow and learn is really gratifying. And so it's helpful, obviously, for their own careers and also for our team, because once we get healthy again, which we will be, knock on wood, next season, then we'll have a lot of depth and a lot of young players who are ready to step in and fill some of those voids.
Let's go to one other question from the audience. We'll get back to ours. Let's do Henry and Max from New York want to know what your favorite movie is.
Oh, my favorite movie is The Shawshank Redemption. I know is it?
Yes.
20, maybe even more, but if I ever am flipping through the channels and come across Shawshank, I'm locked in for the rest of the movie. I can't turn it off.
Absolutely. So here's a tougher question for you. All right, you've been a part of. For those of you who are young and don't really know, Steve was a fantastic player too. He played on a number of great teams. Played on the Bulls championship teams. Played on the Spurs. Tim Duncan, David Robinson champions, and obviously he's coached incredible Warrior teams. So my question for you, and I think you've probably had this before: what's the best team, at least for a single season, you've ever been part of?
As a player or as a coach?
Either. Like, you've been a part of a team,
Either.
So what was the best single season experience in terms of just, if you lined them all up, what's the best team you've been part of?
I would have to say the 96 Bulls, because Michael Jordan was so unique and so much better than everybody else in the league. And we won 72, set the all-time record for wins, and then won the championship. And it was just an incredible team to be a part of, because Michael was so dominant, but we had great players around him with Scottie Pippen, Tony Kukoc, Dennis Rodman, Ron Harper. And that team was really kind of ahead of its time, because it was really, really versatile. That team would have been great in today's game, because we had a whole bunch of guys who could guard every position. They were all long armed and long limbed and could guard 1 through 4. Some of them even could guard 1 through 5. Dennis Rodman used to guard Shaq when we played Orlando, so it was an incredible team, and the team was really motivated too, because it was right after Michael Jordan took his 2-year hiatus to play baseball. And that was an amazing season to be part of.
Let me follow up and ask you on Jordan, because I explain to Eli sometimes. I try to explain the Michael Jordan experience to him. And I think I'm getting a lot of messages here from kids who are 6, who are 8, who are 9. You guys didn't have a chance to see Michael Jordan. And for you out there, I'm sure Giannis or Kevin Durant or LeBron right now captivate your mind. Can you explain what the Michael Jordan phenomenon was like, what he was like as a player, what he was like as a teammate? Because for those of us who saw him play, I think it's unlike anything I've ever seen. But
Yeah. Yeah, I would agree with that. It's hard to compare anybody in today's game to Michael. And obviously the guys today are amazing. LeBron and Kobe in his day was so talented, and Kevin Durant. These guys who are so gifted and big, strong, skilled. And Michael was that at a time when the NBA was actually much more physical, and the defense was allowed to do a lot more. And so his strength and his ability to play through all that contact was incredible. And in today's game, he would just go to the free throw line like 30 times a game because you can't put a hand on anybody. And so back in that time when everybody was so physical and the game was so jammed up because you didn't have 3-point shooting, teams were only taking 8 or 10 3-point shots a game. The lane was jammed up. He was just amazing in terms of his footwork and his skill, his ability to get shots off in any type of situation, and his ability to dominate a game emotionally and physically. It was like you would go onto the floor and both teams knew who was going to win because Michael Jordan was that much better than everybody else.
That's the Jordan hour. Hey, we got the split screen working, I think, finally. Only halfway through. All right. Eli, I think you had a question.
Yeah. What's your favorite basketball memory from when you were a kid?
My favorite basketball player when I was a kid?
Memory.
Your favorite memory, is it?
Memory. So I grew up, I fell in love with basketball being a UCLA fan because my dad was a teacher there, and we used to go to the games at UCLA. And when I was a kid, when I was your age, Eli, UCLA was winning the national championship every single year. They actually won 10 NCAA championships in 12 years, which is crazy. That just doesn't happen anymore. And so that happened during my childhood, and that's when I fell in love with the game. And so that was my team, and it was incredible to watch a team that basically just won every single night, and I got spoiled. But that's when I fell in love with the game, and going to the games with my dad and my brother, and eventually I became a ball boy for UCLA when I was about 12 years old. And that was a huge thrill. I would rebound for the guys, before the game and at halftime and wipe up the floor. And that was a huge thrill. But that's when I just really knew I wanted to do something in my life with basketball. I didn't know I was going to be able to play and coach in the NBA, but I wanted to be part of it somehow.
I feel like you'd be good in the ball boy role, at least like the wiping things up part. Like you could get down real low, right?
I am small.
Yeah, that's true.
When and how did you realize you were good enough to play in the NBA?
Gosh, that's a good question. When and how did I realize I was good enough? I'm not sure I really felt like I could make it until I actually did make it. I was in college. I didn't have a scholarship offer after my senior year of high school, so I wasn't recruited heavily, and I wasn't thinking about the NBA at all. And I was kind of a late bloomer, but after college, I got drafted by the Phoenix Suns and in the second round, and I realized, all right, I got an opportunity here. I have a chance, and it was pretty intimidating because everybody was so much better than I was. But I hung in there and just worked really hard. And I think my second season in the league, I got traded to Cleveland. I played for the Cavaliers and finally got some playing time. I didn't play at all my rookie year in Phoenix, but during that second season with Cleveland, that's when I realized that I could actually make it and stick around the NBA for a while.
I think that's an amazing lesson too. For kids, I coached Eli's team, and some kids get frustrated when they're not maybe as good as others right away, and it took some time for you. So just that idea of being patient and working, right? That's got to be something that at this age they've got to understand.
Yeah, and that's something that we tell our players, in Golden State, that everybody runs a different race. We don't all run the exact same race. We all run our own race, and we have to react accordingly. So what that means is you start something, and wherever you are, somebody else is in a totally different place. You don't worry about them. You worry about yourself, and you do everything that you can do to work on your game and to get better and to learn about the game. And if you do that and you're really serious about it and you put the work in, then you're going to get a lot better, and you're going to feel a lot of satisfaction that comes with that self-improvement.
And along those lines, there's a question I've seen a number of people. I think Mason from New Jersey wanted to know, and Eli had a similar question. So why don't you ask that?
What are some things a young player like me could do to get better at basketball right now while we're socially distancing? I mean, we can't play with anyone.
Yeah, that's a really good question, and I guess some people out there listening are maybe able to get into their driveway, get onto the driveway and shoot hoops. But if you don't have a hoop in your driveway and you have to be at home, what I used to do when I was growing up, we had a hoop in our driveway and I would go out and shoot. But when it would rain, I would lie on my bed and I would practice my shot on my bed, and I would practice my follow through. And do you ever do that, Eli, where you just lie there and you just kind of shoot the ball up into the air?
No, but I should.
You could, yeah.
I feel like someone's told you that might help you. Who is that brilliant, handsome man?
If you take away what the second thing you said, then
Fair.
Oh, you got a comedian over there, Jordan.
Welcome to my life, Coach. Welcome.
Yeah, I think you can. You can practice shooting, lying on your back, and what's important is the hand placement on the ball. And Eli, you're lucky. You got your dad there to help coach you, and so there's a good coach can help you with the hand placement and the ball being on the fingertips and where your hand should be, and then holding the follow through, and that way you can repeat that follow through. And that we always talk about the gooseneck. Do you ever hear about the gooseneck on the follow through? There it is, yeah. And you can do that, and you can do that over and over again. And one tip that I try to give young players that really helped me is I'll put my index finger right on the nozzle where the air goes into the ball. And if you put your index finger on that nozzle and then spread your fingers out really wide, and then you cock your hand back for the shot, that's a really good hand placement, because ideally you want the shot to come off these two fingers, the peace sign, because you can control the ball best with those two fingers. And if the ball starts sliding off the outside two fingers, then it's much more difficult to make shots. And so I would lie on my bed and put that finger right on the nozzle and spread my fingers out, and over again, hold that follow through. And then, next time you're able to go play, when this thing is all over, you'll have a better feel for the ball. And you can also do that with dribbling, if as long as you have a place where your mom and dad aren't going to be mad at you for making too much noise. But you can practice your dribbling somewhere too.
The basement has been very good for that. But if you're not going to listen to your dad, you should definitely listen to maybe one of the best shooters in the history of the sport. So
then I will.
Okay, good. We got a couple more audience questions, and then we got a couple more, and then we're going to let Steve go because he's got a busy day of not going outside ahead of him.
I'm swamped.
Rev Doherty wants to know, and this is something I want to get into with you for a second. Did you play any other sports growing up? And if so, what?
I played every sport growing up, and things were different. Back then, we didn't have year-round basketball, so I played baseball and football and soccer, and I just went from one sport to the next. And I played baseball all the way through high school, and I'm still a big baseball fan, and so I'm a big sports fan in general. I like watching all different sports.
So that's a conversation that we have all the time in the community. Specialization, right? So if there are parents out there watching right now, and you've got your kid playing one sport, travel, constant seasons, this is a former professional athlete, current coach, and what's your advice on that?
I actually believe that players are better off playing multiple sports at a young age, because I think certain things translate from one sport to the next. I think you also get used to using different muscles in your body. You have different coaches, different teammates, and all those experiences, I think, can really help when you finally do decide what sports you want to focus on. And an example I would use is, it seems like all the players that I've either coached or played with who played soccer growing up are excellent passers in basketball. And because the sport is very similar, only, in soccer, you can't go one-on-one. You can't just dribble around the whole defense. It'll never work. You have to pass and cut, and you have to move the ball. And so the guys who played soccer all tend to be better passers and playmakers. And so I think playing different sports kind of helps you see different things and experience different things. And all that stuff really matters when it comes down to specializing in one sport, whenever that is you decide to do it.
It's funny you mentioned soccer. Someone you know well once told me about that, Steve Nash. Growing up playing soccer and lacrosse helped them really see the angles differently in the game. We once did, back when I was at ESPN, we once did a whole story on how soccer influenced people in every sport and made them better at certain things.
Yeah.
So I've always encouraged him to play soccer as much for the other sports it's going to help with as with soccer. So I know we got a lot of soccer players out there in the chat, but what you're doing is good for whatever you play someday.
Yeah, I think it's great. And for the parents out there who might be watching or listening, there's a great book that's out that I read last year. It's called Range. And it talks about specialization versus generalization. And the whole first chapter is about, it contrasts the way Roger Federer grew up and the way Tiger Woods grew up. And Roger Federer played all different sports growing up, and Tiger just played golf. And obviously, they've both been incredibly successful. But the whole book talks about the difference between specialization, generalization, and why doing a range of things can actually help you develop into a better, not just athlete, but artist or businessman or whatever line of work or line of life that you're looking at.
There's let's go to this other audience question. Eli, you want to read it?
Yeah. So this is Rachel Lipton.
It's from the Liptons in Phoenix.
Yep, and
big fans of Steve Kerr.
Who played for in the NBA before you were drafted?
Was there sort of a dream
you
wanted to play for before you were drafted?
Yeah, it was probably the Lakers, because having grown up in Los Angeles, I was a Laker fan and Magic Johnson fan, and so that was my team.
All right, you got a couple more questions, and let's see you go.
If you were stuck at home like this, but could only eat 3 foods in the house, what would they be and why?
That's a great question. Stuck at home, which we all are, but only 3 foods in the house. Gosh. My wife just said pizza.
Okay. Don't say something like kale, by the way. Like, no.
Okay, yeah, like like escargot or something.
Let's go the real stuff. So pizza.
I'm going with eggs.
Okay.
I like eggs for breakfast, and I can, definitely have an omelet or something for dinner, and pasta. Gotta have some pasta.
Do you have one last question?
How about you?
Yeah.
What do you need?
What are your 3 foods?
Okay.
3 things.
So probably some fruits, because I just like fruit.
Fruit.
Second, some sort of breakfast cereal, something good for breakfast, and some candy or something.
This is very different from. Are you trying to impress him? Because yesterday I think it was Burger King, Doritos, and Coke, right?
No, but I do like fruit and cereal.
That's true.
Sugary cereal.
Good man.
All right, last question, Eli. Go for it.
If you could be the lead role in a movie, which movie would it be?
Lead role in a movie. What movie would it be? Like, what kind of movie?
What role would you have loved to have played as an actor? Like, obviously not. If you could have played any role.
Not a basketball coach.
You could have done Michael Jordan's role in Space Jam, right?
Yeah, sure. Bill Murray's role in Space Jam would be good. I love comedy, so I would absolutely love to. I would want to be an extra in Curb Your Enthusiasm. That's what I would want.
When this is over, should we open up a Spite store together?
Let's do it.
Okay. All right.
What does that have to do with anything?
Curb, it's on the show.
Oh.
All right. So, on that note, is there anything else you just want to say? You got a bunch of kids out here watching. You know, we're all, again, trying to get through this together. Is there anything you want to say before you head out?
Yeah, first of all, just want to tell everybody to stay safe and stay healthy and keep following the advice of all the experts and what they're telling us, and just we're going to get through this, and we got to just be really patient, and and then reach out to the people who you love, who you can't see, but you can call or FaceTime and make sure you're connecting with friends and family, and then hopefully we'll get back to our normal lives before too long. But just want to wish everybody well out there.
Well, thank you, Steve. Yeah. It is unbelievably nice that you're willing to join us like this. You gave us a thrill. I'm hoping that we had a lot of people watching and gave them a thrill. And for those of you who are out there, we're going to be back next week. We have a couple more guests lined up. It looks like Kyle Lowry from the Toronto Raptors, John Shire from Duke, and in the meantime, reach out to me on Twitter at Jordan Brenner. Let me know who you're interested in hearing from, other ideas for the show, and of course a name, because we're terrible, not creative, and can't come up with anything good. So we want to hear from you. This is your show, and thanks again to Steve for joining us.
Yep.
Thanks, guys.
Bye.
Take care.
See you, Eli.
Yep.